Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It's Friday, September 26th. Oh my God, it's almost October. I can't believe it. If you're excited about Halloween, that's great because that's only a month away. I'm excited because I'm going to DC next week to visit my daughter and do some stand-up comedy. And if you haven't joined us before, I'm not just a stand-up comedian and lover of Halloween. I am a sales coach and trainer. I work with individuals and organizations to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. And if you have joined us before, you know that every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I either do a live interview with somebody who can add value to the profession of sales, or I do a live training, and today's no exception. Today's guest helps people meet their highest self and live life with gratitude, fulfillment, and excitement. She's a master certified mindset coach and the founder of Empowered by Emily. Please welcome Emily Keltz. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning. It's so great to be here. I can just, sense your excitement, and I love it. I'm going to come see you do a stand-up show.
Woohoo! I'm excited about that. Well, come see me in DC next, actually Long Island next Thursday, and then DC next Friday. But where are you again? Are you in New Jersey?
I'm in New Jersey, and as I might have mentioned, I'm originally from Long Island, so it's possible I could get out there and come see you.
Or I'll have to book a gig in New Jersey for you. But
I can help you with that.
Perfect. Good. I need an agent. But rather than talk about my comedy career, let's talk about sales and you. Before we get started with the 1,000,001 questions I have for you, why don't you give us the 2 or 3 minute version of your background?
Absolutely. I'd love to. I am a certified NLP practitioner. What does that mean? NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which has everything to do with mindset. And mindset work can apply to sales and all areas of your life. That being said, my specific core client is a woman. I'll work with men, but mainly women come to me to navigate difficult transitions in their life. And typically that could be a divorce, coming off of a toxic relationship, maybe empty nesting, just wanting to rebuild their life, reconnect to their deepest self, make some powerful mindset shifts that help them create a life that is aligned with their core values, the life that they dreamed of, and also to rebuild whatever, either a traumatic event, a divorce, a toxic relationship, the wreckage and the damage, the havoc that can bring, and the questioning of your identity. I help them rebuild that, rediscover that, and build confidence on top of that foundation so that they can also go forward and know what a healthy relationship is and magnetize that into their life.
And what did you do before this? What's your background?
My background is sales. I have had many careers. I guess I also have called myself a midlife reinvention coach, because I guess I'm the epitome of that, truly. I started out in advertising sales. I used to work for MTV. And then I became disenchanted with New York City and the hardcore on the street selling. It did feel very manipulative to me at that time. It was the 80s and whining and dining the clients. And I don't know, something about me, it just didn't resonate authentically for me. So then I was in property management for a couple of years, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for many years. So I can speak to the difficulty facing women or anybody getting back into the workforce after a nice little gap there. And I actually went, and even though my background is in finance and in sales and psychology, I took a whole nother route and tapped into my creativity and got my cosmetology license, because I've always loved making people feel beautiful. So now I was approaching that from the outside in. And now I'm doing it from the inside out as a mindset coach, right? But the two work synergistically together always. You have to admit that how you feel and present on the outside affects your inside. And more importantly, I feel how you feel on the inside shines out through the outside.
Yeah.
This all speaks to
Go
sales
ahead.
in a very important way.
Yep. I'm very big on mindset in sales, and we'll talk more about that. But one of the things you talk about is that people are disconnected from their purpose. And it sounds like you
Mm.
felt disconnected from your purpose at one point. What does that actually mean, and how does that affect us?
What it means for me, and I think a lot of people, and especially a lot of clients that I've talked to, with societal norms, labels, advertising, the media, everything that we have ingested over the years. And then if you're married, if you're a mom, if you're subsequently divorced, it's just you start to lose who you really are authentically, and you start to lose your identity and can feel stuck and disconnected from yourself. So in order to realign, there's a lot of core value and belief work that I like to do with my clients and take them on a little journey, maybe connecting back to their inner child and looking at all the changes that we've gone through. And the truth is, the difference almost between coaching and therapy, right, is that you can peel back the layers and understand what's gone on and all the labels that you've had to take on and go on autopilot with in your life. But you have to do the work to get back to what's happening right now. So therapy, you can spend years and years in going through all of that, but coaching is about, okay, how do we move forward right now and create a mindset shift right now that will serve me and get me unstuck and get me moving towards my goals? Making
And,
those. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I know you speak from personal experience because you were married for 18 years and eventually you found the courage to leave your marriage. Why did it take that long? And by the way, it took me 10 years and I still wasn't leaving. I got kicked out. Why did it take you 18 years? And how did you actually find the strength to finally do that?
To be honest, it was the hardest thing I ever did. And to this day, I can only say that for me, staying felt like it was going to be an inner death. So I probably did wait too long, Jeff. I have to say I did, but kids would be one of the top reasons. Okay. I felt such a, sense of responsibility for these lives that I didn't want to mess up their lives. But I have learned so much since, and I firmly believe, I support anybody in their journey and what's right for them. Stay-at-home mom, working mom. If it works for you, the happy parent is the best parent. Now, I don't mean happy being irresponsible, living the life, traveling the world. No, you have to be a responsible parent that's providing unconditional love. But if you're not living a life that's aligned with your values, and if you are so repressed that you can't find joy in things, that's not a great role model for your child. Because what do you want for your child? You want them to be able to love themselves, have a high sense of self-worth, and to take care of themselves. And if you're not role modeling that, then you're not giving them that asset. It doesn't matter what you say, it matters what you do, truthfully.
Yeah, I believe I became a much better father after the divorce. It was pretty much forced on me, though. I had my kids every other weekend, and I had to spend an entire weekend just taking care of my 3 kids, other than doing some work. But in all the years I had been married, I don't think I ever once took care of all 3 of my kids all day, all by myself. So I became a better father, and it all happens for a reason.
It does.
I focused for the last 21 years on working with professional salespeople, and I've recently turned my focus to what I call the accidental salesperson, which to me is a coach, a consultant, a creative, a solopreneur, anybody who doesn't sell for a living in their minds and often doesn't like sales, thinks poorly of salespeople, doesn't want to be salesy. You used to be a professional salesperson. You went from that to an accidental salesperson. How did that happen?
I love that term that you created, and it really hit me hard. And I realized that it's so true, and that how conversely I was sort of trying to hit the pavement, be that salesperson, an intentional salesperson, and do all the right things, say all the right things, close it, follow up, and just be the best at it. And it didn't, like I said, when I worked at MTV, I did feel that ick at times, and it didn't feel authentic, and it felt forced, and it wasn't aligned. And I think that's why I sort of ran away from that and took, a left turn for many, many years. And then I found myself finally, my sixth, seventh career, maybe, empowered by Emily, trying to empower others, and realized, holy crap, I'm a salesperson again. And it was accidental, because I'm not going to hire a whole team to sell me and do all the things. I want it to be my voice, my words, my brand. And no one's going to sell that except me. So here I am again, left with the ball, needing to do that and trying to find a way to do it authentically.
And you being a master certified mindset coach, what's the mindset shift you have to make from being an intentional salesperson to an accidental salesperson? Or maybe my better question is, you're kind of an exception from a lot of the people I'm working with right now, because you were a professional salesperson and then became an accidental salesperson, where
Yes.
Many of the people that I'm working with, they never sold anything. You have your background in sales and advertising and whatever else you might have sold. But most of the people I'm working with today, they have zero background in sales. They have a bad attitude about it. You use the perfect word. They think it's icky. You have to be pushy, manipulative, which is not what I've taught professional salespeople, but it's a misconception. So how can people who do have to sell, who don't want to, how can they make that mindset shift from sales sucks to, you know what, I can actually do this, besides working with me, because that's what I'm helping people do. But what's your take on that as a mindset coach?
Well, along with working with you, Jeff, which I highly recommend, I made the shift to not how can I convert this person? How can I close this deal? But I shifted into active listening, and I think tapping into the need that everyone has to be seen and heard. And if you can really just focus on connecting to that person, there's always something. I always find that there's something I can relate to about somebody and echo what they're saying and give it, present it back to them, so that you start to build rapport, connection, and feel some alignment. And then perhaps share something relevant about yourself so that they can feel a connection to you and realize that you might be able to serve them in some way. So if it's not aligned, I also have the mindset that I don't want to go into panic mode. I'm going to let it go, because I've seen with experience that if you are looking to connect and you really all about service, if someone isn't ready, it doesn't matter what you do. And it comes when you're pressuring somebody to move into something that they're not even, maybe it is right for them, but they're not there yet. They're not really sure about it. So if you can also actively connect, build rapport, identify, and serve, and then release, they'll come back to you when they are ready. Yeah. Like, I promise that they will.
So, I think you used the perfect word, which is serve. It just so happens by coincidence that the niche that I've done the most training in is advertising salespeople. Not that I've gone after it, but one would refer, another would refer. I've trained people who sold advertising that I didn't even realize it was advertising until I started working with them. And it is a very competitive market, because there's forget about when you were selling it with MTV. Today, there's just 8 gazillion outlets that are competing for your advertising dollars. And it is high pressure. And, what you're talking about with the entertaining and the hustle and all that stuff, it really, I think, is the mindset from I have to close this person to how can I serve this person, or how can I serve this organization? And look, I started 50 years ago with Encyclopedia Britannica, which was a very high pressure sale. We were selling $2,000 sets of books 50 years ago.
We had them. We had
And you
them.
could send your kids to the library to use them for free. So we knew it was a
Yeah.
one-call close, and we knew how to pressure. And I was very, very good at it. But it never felt right. And I don't think it works at all in today's market. So we really have to shift from I'm here to make money to I'm here to serve you if that's the appropriate thing to do. And
Right.
many sellers, especially accidental sellers, have a big concern about being seen as pushy or coming off as phony because all they really do want to do is serve. Mindset coaches just want to help people have a better mindset. Weight loss coaches want to help people lose weight, relationship coaches, and so on. So how can we get past the anxiety of coming off as pushy or fake? Is it as simple as just coming from service, or is there something else?
I think it's important to personally get grounded first. If you are dealing with anxiety, and that's one of the things that I do with my clients, sometimes if you're in a turmoil of anxiety or you're not sure of your identity, how can you sell as a service if you're not fully aligned and you're not fully, grounded in awareness of who you are and what you have to offer? So I don't just think it's like coming, black and white as selling as a service. You have to really first come to who you are, what you're about, what your message is, and then when you can feel that that's aligned with your authentic self, then you can present without as much anxiety. But there are modalities that I do use to calm the nervous system, whether it's customized mini meditation that I will give them that reiterates all of that, or something that works with the nervous system to like the tapping. EFT tapping has become really popular lately in the last few years to get them out of their head, out of that negative cycle, and remove that feeling of ick and to move out of anxiety in terms of coming off in a way that doesn't feel authentic, genuine, or serving. I think you can just say sales is a service, but if you don't embody it, then you're nowhere.
Yeah, it's fascinating from my viewpoint to watch. Just yesterday, one of the services I provide is called outsourced or fractional sales management, where I actually take over the sales management of a company. And I'm managing a payroll provider in Brooklyn right now. And I'm interviewing to hire salespeople. And I interviewed a guy yesterday who, you know how you can look at somebody, you can just see they're not in pain, but they're not, something's off. Something's just off. You can see it in the expression in their face, the way they speak, the way they hold their body. And in speaking to him and asking him questions, he was telling me about how his current job, he just doesn't feel right. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, the company doesn't take care of the customers. They don't provide any training for me. There's no support. When I'm selling things, I don't believe that it's actually going to get delivered properly and just doesn't feel right. And I was explaining that, I'm the sales manager. And by the way, I'm also a sales coach. So I'm going to train you. And we don't do anything underhanded. There's no lying, cheating, or stealing. We're 100% above board. I wouldn't be involved with any company that asks salespeople to do that. And I've known many over the years that do. And I could watch his face actually changing as we were listening, as we were speaking. It was like he was becoming a different human. You could see visual. Well, we were on Zoom, so I could see him relaxing. And it's amazing how that what you said is 100% true. If you're not congruent, it's just not going to work.
Yes. I love that. I mean, lucky him. He gets access to you, just as part that his company hired you. And I love that you said that about the body language, because that's so important in sales to be able to, besides just the active listening that I mentioned, that I know you also support and teach, just observing what's going on for somebody. And then you can gently inquire, as you did. And then you could even see the shift happening within him. That's amazing.
It was stunning. Yeah, it was really, it's funny sometimes. It's so obvious to everybody but you. So as the outside observer, I'm watching him. I could see his face relax. He actually started smiling and laughing. At the end, he goes, I don't know if I'm going to get this job, but I like you, and I'm really excited.
Right.
which was a
Oh,
great
right. He was
compliment.
interviewing. He didn't have the job yet. Wow. So, yeah, that makes me curious. I'm wondering how it worked out or how it will work out.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to offer him the job,
No,
but
okay.
it was just
He wasn't the
a
right
cool
fit.
experience to see. And there's still a possibility. It depends on what he does next.
Either way, I have to say, I think it was probably pivotal for him just having that conversation with you.
Uh, he said more than once, even if I don't get this job, I've learned so much in this, because I always like to give people tips. Look, I come from a place of service. My job is to serve salespeople, whether they're accidental, intentional, or anything else. And my goal is, how can I help the most amount of people to serve more clients, earn more money, take care of themselves and their family, and do it in a way that's 100% integrity and
Awesome.
easy and natural. Something you posted recently, I thought was interesting. I can't relate to midlife, as I'm well past it. As far as I know, I haven't experienced menopause. Tell me about midlife and menopause as sales training.
Okay. Have you experienced menopause? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think so.
Lucky you.
Actually, well, let's not go there. There are certainly some aspects at my age that might be menopause.
That's a different podcast. Truthfully, it really means that I was given the opportunity to grow a pair, because the things that we, yes, I'll let that land for a minute. But as women, okay, so I guess I'm speaking to roughly half the population. There's this thing called hormones, and at certain times in our lives, they give us a run for our money. And also, even to speak to other transitions like divorce, toxic relationships, coming through something, even, trauma. And you know how I define trauma? It doesn't have to be anything horrific. It can be the smallest thing. Trauma is not actually what happened. It's what happens inside the body in response to it. So you could have been in third grade and raised your hand and had some idiot teacher comment, in a way that made you shrink or feel so stupid or bad about yourself. And you take that in, and it really messes you up later in life. I don't want to digress too much. I tend to do that.
No, I love this, Emily. I do it. And before you go on, I don't know if you've ever watched the TV program, The West Wing. It's my favorite show of all time.
Episodes. I'm not a huge TV consumer, but my current husband. So that would be my second husband. So I can also speak to Finding Love again. But, he was very into that show. Did you like it?
I think it's the best TV series of all time, followed closely by The Newsroom, which was written by the same guy. But the reason I brought it up was just last night, I was, relaxing, and I said, I'm going to watch a couple episodes of West Wing. And there's a character on there, one of my favorites. His name is Josh. He's the deputy chief of staff, and he gets shot at one point. Spoiler alert. Of course, the show was like 20 years old, so I hope I'm not spoiling it for anybody. But this whole show, most of this episode is about how, he was shot a while back, and he's still dealing with the trauma. Like if he hears, a car backfire, or dropping somebody drops a glass, and just fascinating how a thing happens and it affects you for a long, long time unless you deal with it. Yes.
Yes, it has to be processed. If it's completely repressed, then it's really going to be a stumbling block for you. And I've also learned with my training, and I'll get back to menopause in a minute, or what I meant by that, but I learned from my training that the subconscious protects you. So it's not going to allow anything to surface that you're not ready to deal with. So if something's coming up for you, if you're getting that trigger response to something, then that is insight about you're ready and you are capable, and something needs to be dealt with. And maybe I think we're going to get to that in a minute. But all I meant by menopause and just life transitions and everything, that you start to not give a, exclamation as much anymore. And even if you are not in midlife or not experienced menopause, you can work to attain that mindset of that, everybody's reaction is out of what their issues are and their path and journey has been. Don't go to that mindset automatically like this rejection or this reaction is about me. It's not. And if it is, what can you do about it? What someone else is thinking is none of your business. And you just got to shift into that mindset. And I'm just saying that menopause and the life situations and the transition and my divorce and all that I've gone through helped me get to that mindset. And so I can help others get there without necessarily having to go through all of that stuff.
Gotcha.
Unnecessarily.
Yep. I've mentioned, and I talk about this all the time, that I believe selling is serving. What do you mean by selling is sharing and sharing is caring? I think I know, but why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I guess it's pretty straightforward. There's no magic there, but you've heard that term, right? It's a cliche. Sharing is caring. And I also believe that when you're selling, you're sharing your knowledge, your unique talents, your unique experience that you've had or training with somebody, and then that's caring. So to me, it's just a deeper definition of selling is serving, because you're caring, you're loving, you're putting yourself out there. And I believe that the ways I've sold the best, and I don't want to say sell because I don't want it to feel as an intentional, closing of a deal. But when I start sharing also personal things that I've been through, all of a sudden I hear people saying, oh my God, my cousin went through that, or, oh my goodness, I watched my mother struggle with this so-and-so many years ago. I wish I'd known you, or I wish she could have talked to you, or this or that. So when I hear clients or other people say initially, like, it's terrible what people go through with social media, right? Everybody looks like they have this amazing life and the grass is always greener, and people are in their situations looking at all of this and these posts and feeling really shitty about themselves. But when I start sharing things that I've gone through, and believe me, in my family, there's been struggles with addiction and mental illness and all kinds of things that I've been exposed to. And I start sharing that, all of a sudden everybody wakes up and is like, they start sharing what they've been through. And therein lies the opportunity for connection.
I love the thought that sharing is caring as it relates to sales. And I cannot resist pointing out so many, especially accidental sellers, they don't want to put it out there about what they do because they think, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be salesy. People will come to me if when the time is right. And to a certain extent, that's true. But my belief is you actually owe it to yourself and to others, to every prospect that you have out there, to share what you do, which is why I talk about prospecting consistently. So many people they feel awkward about it. I think you're ripping off yourself and everybody out there who could benefit. Look, if there are women who are going through a divorce, I don't know exactly what a divorce coach does, and we'll talk about that later, but they need what you've got. And you're, not that you would do this, but you're ripping them off if you're not letting people in order, if you're not quote unquote selling.
Right.
And of course you're ripping yourself off because look, at the end of the day, we want to do the right thing for people. We want to serve people, but we also want to get paid. And you can't get paid unless you serve enough people. It's why one of my consistent mantras is consistent and effective prospecting is one of the true keys to selling. I don't like that it's true. I don't want to do it myself, but it's just the price we pay to be able to serve people and make money and all that stuff. I think we're ripping people off by not letting them know when we can serve them. Yes?
Yes. No, I agree with you. And where were you 20 years ago when I really needed you? I don't know. I mean,
I hear that all the time too.
Of course.
Where were you 20 years ago? I was right here. Where were you?
Oh, stay-at-home mom, I guess, at that point, contemplating my life and what I'm going to do with it. I don't know. But no, I agree with you. You have to look at it that way, that you're ripping yourself off and you're depriving other people of powerful knowledge and information and guidance that they could hugely benefit from. But again, it is a mindset. And the truth is, for example, being on this podcast right now, this is sort of forcing me, right? I'm having an aha moment like, wow, I'm going through all of these things that I inherently know, that I embody, but I don't always stay in that space. We all fall off, and so we all need grounding, consistent grounding. So you've got to either gain it from someone like you, or even to realize it and then implement it from someone like you, or post a sales, your confidence lab and whatever you offer, have to find a way to stay grounded and to keep re-implementing it for yourself, or you fall off and the little, self-doubt, the creepies come back in, or the ick comes back in. And so I have to thank you, even just being here today and being able to speak on it and have the opportunity to, sort of refresh it all in my own mind has been valuable.
Yeah, thank you. And it's why I'm so big on coaching, not just because I'm a coach or you're a coach. I think everybody needs a coach, because
absolutely,
sometimes it's nearly impossible to see what everybody else sees in you. And sometimes even when we see it, we don't want to deal with it, or we don't know how.
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about something else. Salespeople are often driven to succeed. Look, most people don't go into sales to serve the world. It's because sales is a career.
Right. That was my initial career. Yeah. Career.
You don't need a college degree. It's a way to make a heck of a lot of money if you're good at it. And if you enjoy what you're doing, it can be great. But salespeople who are often driven to succeed often sacrifice their health and their relationships in the pursuit of that success. Talk a little bit about stress and the importance of self-care, and what are some of maybe the simple things that we can do to take care of ourselves? I know I have my own routines, but what do you recommend?
You already piqued my curiosity about your routines, but yes, something that really, really bugs me, and I've spoken about now, is how society made it cool to be so busy, overwhelmed. Oh, I'm going here, I'm going there. And I'm guilty. I have to admit, I do sort of run on empty sometimes. And I've gotten so much better, and there's still room for me to grow, but it is so important. I know it's a cliche. It's like on the plane, put your own mask on first. How can you help anybody if you're not breathing? Fill your own cup first. But it's so effing true. And everybody has to find, first of all, come to the mindset and come to the conclusion and really understand that you are not serving yourself or anybody else well if you're not taking care of yourself. And you know what? If you truly love yourself, so we can come back to self-esteem, right, which is so important, and self-worth, which is so important in terms of being a successful business person and selling. And if you're not taking care of yourself, then you have to ask, well, if you love yourself and you value yourself, why aren't you? Why aren't you prioritizing yourself and prioritizing your self-care? And then it's getting down to, okay, if you do and you want to do that, implementing ways to self-soothe, to self-care, and what that means for you. It could be different for everybody else. But some of those things, I think, carving space in the morning where you have some alone time, where you can put those first thoughts down, maybe journal. I'm so big on journal prompts, because so many people, like you said, even are not aware what's going on for them. For me, it's all about raising awareness, and journaling and free writing, or using prompts to bring up stuff or what's going on for you, or the resistance you're having to the day, the resistance you're having to consistently show up. So you need that quiet time. You need breaks. You can time block on your calendar. I use the Calm app. So this is a little tip I like to give, and a lot of people love this. I buy the heated eye mask. It has like red light therapy, and it's so calming. It's great for migraines. It's great for eye stress. You're at the computer. We're on our phones all day. And I'll put a 10-minute, okay? We all have 10 minutes. Meditation from the Calm app. You can demo it for free, I think. But you can YouTube also, a million that are free. And I just can lay there for 10 minutes with my eyes warming, listening to my breath, and listening to the guided meditation. So you have to do these things for self-care, but you have to figure out what really works for you. Self-care isn't always about, like, for women, manis and pedis or massages. Those are great, but you have to do the work in terms of calming the nervous system and making sure that you're filling your cup, and you're doing all those things that make you feel rested, that you can really come and support everyone else in your life from a place of fullness and wholeness.
We live in a culture that, for the most part, reveres success, and we've been taught by example: work 24 hours a day, kill yourself, you got to have success. And there's an incredibly good book, The Power of Full Engagement. I can't remember the authors, but they were sports psychologists, and they studied human performance. And what they discovered was, and they give example after example of this in the book, the people who are at their desk at 6 a.m. and still working at 9 p.m, killing it and maybe making gazillions of dollars, are typically not as successful as people who build little breaks into their day. They actually recommend that you physically and mentally need a brief break every 90 to 120 minutes. There's one of the examples, I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have a place in Atlanta, an actual place that you would go to. And they talk about this high performing stockbroker, the kind of guy who makes, a $2 million bonus at the holidays, who his income plummeted. He was physically burnt out. He went down, they stayed there for a week. And the advice at the end of the week that they gave him was, and this is how long ago it was, listen to your Walkman. For those of you who are too young, that was.
I had one.
That was music that wasn't on your phone yet before phones. At any rate, just every 90 to 120 minutes, put on your earphones for 5 to 10 minutes and listen to classical music. Not that that's the right music. That's just the music he liked. And his income went back up. His life changed because people, and they give example after example, sports figures. Building little breaks in makes a huge difference. You've got to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. You also recently posted that body language and communication are key to successful relationships. I think we all know that being open and honest communicators are essential, but talk a little bit about that, and mostly about body language.
I think we touched on it before. Like when you were interviewing that gentleman, right? And you can see in his face and how he held himself that he wasn't right. And the truth is that we convey so much with our facial expressions, with our body language, how you hold yourself, and it impacts your everyday relationships. So, they talk about in terms of interviewing and all of the things that you need to do to be successful, but also happiness in the home, which is a lot of what I work with, interpersonal relationships, romantic relationships, and all the things. But I did work in recruiting for 12 years. So I was in the job space as well. And it does matter all day long if you're in the office. I can speak to, let's talk about at home and in a romantic relationship right now.
Because the picture I saw was you and a man, maybe your husband, I think in a gym. And I was like, what's that got to do with body language and relationships? I mean, I understand reading somebody's body language, but I felt like that you were saying something different, no?
Well, I tend to post things that I try to inject humor and be outside the box a little bit. So yes, we were boxing. I love to box. So and physical.
Yes, I quickly learned, don't mess with Emily. You're boxing and jumping and falling. Yeah, very impressive.
Honestly, Jeff, it saved me because, to me, exercise is just about detoxifying, not necessarily about weight management and all the things. And I think that, stress and anxiety can kill you, literally. So I went through so much that it was so necessary for me to be able to have that outlet. So I kind of tied in boxing with, yes, that's my current husband, and made a joke out of it. But I'm really being serious, because in all the work that I've done surrounding relationships and leaving an unhealthy relationship and being able to become healthy enough to recognize what constitutes a healthy relationship, I had to come to terms with how I present myself physically in terms of faces I might make that show disdain instead of really communicating verbally, right? Maybe you're communicating vulnerability. That's what I meant. This is so important. I learned the importance of I statements, and I believe that's true in sales. If you create a safe space for vulnerability, and expression, you know, authentic and vulnerable expression where you can do that, that is gold. And if you're not just using body language in a negative way is what I was really referring to not use body, to not weaponize body language and facial expressions, because we do also do that on some sort of subconscious level. So if you can raise your awareness about that and not put that negativity out there in that way, but to sort of reflect inwards and express yourself in a vulnerable way and let that shine through in your body language and in your facial expressions, you're going to connect much more deeply, whether it's with your, you know, the person you are trying to sell, the person that you're bringing value to, the workplace that you're contributing to, or to your relationship.
Hit home. You know, I don't know if you saw me, but as you were speaking, I went, oh. My ex-wife likes to argue. I don't. I really hate it. And I can't tell you how many times we'd be in a discussion and she would say, stop giving me the Michael Corleone stare. Now, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but
I do. Yeah.
It was this, I didn't realize I was doing it, but you know, looking back, you know, it was that deadpan look, like I just want to kill you right now, and I'm going to have somebody come do it in about 2 minutes.
Right.
Clearly, it was not good for our relationship. I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but that was a great realization just now. Talk a little bit, please, about being a divorce coach. So I went through a divorce. It was not pleasant, and I think for most people, it's very highly unpleasant. What does a divorce coach do? Who hires one, and how do you help people?
That, first of all, I just want to thank you for sharing. And you keep saying things that makes me want to like dive in, you know, and like coach with you. So, but I'm glad you brought up that example. And I will just answer and then circle back to that. A divorce coach is, for me, the way I define it, if you are married and struggling, you're not happy, struggling with the idea, the thought of divorce, is that the answer? Is that what I need to do? I can coach you to gain clarity and understand if you want to put in the time, if it is possible with your partner to get to a place where you have a deeper connection, where you are able to get back to what drew you to them in the first place and sort of reinvent and recreate or reinfuse your relationship the way you want it to be. Or if you have to make that difficult choice to leave, if you've already left and you're suffering with the fallout from divorce, like the crash to your identity, the difficulty in the fears in meeting someone else and not bringing those patterns, those triggers, so that they don't harm a future potentially healthy, joyous relationship. That's so important. So I help with that. So it can be during a marriage, it could be after the end of a marriage. It can be looking for, how do I find the person that's the right fit for me, to have a lasting partnership. I won't say marriage. You don't have to get married again, but you want to feel fulfilled. What about just a relationship with yourself? To me, that is core. That is the commonality throughout all of it. And that's what I essentially come back to. Maybe you don't want to be with anyone, have a partnership ever again, but you better have one with yourself. You need to have, that self-love, that self-care and all those things to live a fulfilling life. And that's all I want for my clients, to feel more fulfillment, to feel more self-connection, to find joy in life and all the simple things and all the goals that you want to achieve, again, moving forward. So now I want to circle back to what you said.
Before you do, thank you for validating me, because I'm asked constantly, don't you want another relationship? Nope, I'm pretty damn good. I love my life. I love my alone time. I live with my dog, who I adore, and
so good.
If one showed up and it was perfect, or not, there's no perfect, but really easy, I'd be open to it. But I really don't care. I'm 100% ambivalent, and I'm really good at being alone. And by the way, I want to point out that it sounds like what you do is definitely not therapy, but a good addendum to it. Because I remember when we went to 3 different marriage counselors, and at one point, they always go, I'll meet with you one week and the wife the other week. And she went first, and I went in the next week, and I walked and I said, hey, before we get started today, could you just tell me, should I be getting divorced? And she said, well, interestingly, that's the exact question your wife started with last week. And I'm going to tell you the same thing I told her. I can't advise you to get divorced. I can only help you through it if that's what you choose to do.
Mm-hmm. I like that answer. I'm glad to hear it, because so often I hear from clients things that therapists said that I wouldn't say. I don't agree with them, because you're not in anyone's shoes. You can't decide what someone should do. You can only help them. Again, I'm going to use that word because it's so powerful. Gain clarity on what really aligns to them and what they want to do, and then help them through it, as your therapist said. So I'm glad that she said that. I think that's correct. And I validate you, yes, for your choices and what you expressed. That's amazing. I love that. Going back to what you said about your wife saying the Corleone stare and
yes.
So as a coach, what I would maybe counsel her, let's just role play and use that example for a minute, when she experienced that from you, to sort of help you gain awareness about it and shift out of that and have a more productive conversation, instead of like, you're giving me that stare. It's like, I'm looking at you and I see something's going, I feel like something's going on for you, or that you're upset, you're frustrated. Do you want to share? I really want to empathize. I really want to hear you. What's going on for you? Because
that was not the conversation in my house.
Right, well, how would that have felt?
That would have been completely different. And the truth, look, the Michael Corleone stare is, I'm going to have you killed. I never wanted to kill my ex-wife.
No, but
I love my ex-wife. She's a terrific mom, and she gave me the 3 greatest gifts of my life, my 3 kids. And we get along great now, thanks to a coach who helped me realize a bunch of stuff. But at that Michael Corleone stare was not about killing her. It was really about, I just want to be anywhere but here right now. I'd rather be dead. Not really. I've never wanted to kill myself, but I'd rather be anywhere than right here this second.
You were experiencing pain and frustration, and you were stuck and frozen and just wanted to get away from it. I understand.
By the way, I hope all you salespeople that are listening to this therapy session are enjoying it.
We can all gain from anybody's experience in any way, right? You really can.
Absolutely. Well, how about what do we do when we find ourselves living our lives when we're just kind of running on autopilot?
Mm-hmm. Well, then the question is, do you realize you're on autopilot? Are you unhappy on autopilot? Then when you realize that you want to get off that hamster wheel, you can make an intentional decision to do so. But someone has to come to terms, right? Like we were talking about that busyness, that working 24/7, that somehow, I was going to ask you that before, the coach part of me came out when you were talking about success. We all want success. I was going to say, Jeff, what is success? What does success mean to you?
That's easy. For me, it's having enough money that I can live the life that I want to live. I don't need to be a gazillionaire, and to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it and not have to deal with anything else.
Right.
To be happy with who I am right now. That's success to me.
Right. And that doesn't just poof, come to your doorstep, right? So it does require work, even if you want to not work as much, even if you want to be able to generate income to do whatever you want to do, you have to find a way to get there. And that takes intentional thought, that takes some discipline. It takes self-awareness, first of all, getting in alignment with what you do want, as you just so beautifully expressed. And then I like to put everything through this filter for my clients and try and get into the mindset of doing this. Every day, as I go through my day, every decision I'm making, ask yourself, is this pushing the needle closer to what I want, what I define as success, what I want for myself? Or is it moving me backwards or keeping me stuck? And if you can get into the habit of asking yourself that question as you move throughout your day and make decisions and make sure they're aligned with what your goals are, then you'll be going in the right direction. And if you're stuck and you're on autopilot, going back and having a values inventory and understanding what success means to you, what your goals are, and then making sure your decisions are aligned with them is the way to get off of autopilot. And I'm sure that that would include getting grounded and blocking time to connect to yourself and all the things, whether it's, you know, the headphones, the eye mask, the Walkman, whatever, you know, just incorporating all those things.
So here's a question that relates to life and sales. You recently said in a post, you are so much more powerful when you aren't shitting on yourself, although you didn't write out shitting, you were very polite. Talk a little bit about the inner critic and how that might affect us in sales. And because I talk about the little voice all the time, and I always throw in a little joke. And if you don't know what little voice I'm talking about, it's the little voice that just said, "What little voice is Jeff talking about?" But we all have that little voice that's constantly talking to us. And often, for many of us, it is a critic. You're so fat, you're so stupid, you're so whatever. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And in coaching or in any kind of chosen field, it comes up as imposter syndrome. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Who the hell am I to speak on this? And, you know, yeah. I stand with you, and it's everybody's struggle. Most people, you know, God bless you if you don't struggle with that or don't have a, you know, inner critic. But as I referenced before, it can go back to grade school. I mean, and then things get built upon, building blocks upon experience that sort of solidify maybe a self-limiting belief, so that it transitions into self-limiting decisions, and we make decisions to keep ourselves safe that will protect us from all of these fears and all of that voice, you know, that's those stories going through our head. So it is good to sort of identify that these were formed and that they really don't necessarily have truth to them. So that's why I employ powerful questioning. What's the evidence that you have that really corroborates this negative story that you're telling yourself? So your initial question was, how do I get rid of that inner critic, or what?
How does it affect us in sales?
Oh, it's death in sales. I mean, you have to really learn how to retell those stories to yourself and to question them in an effective way so you can, you know, deflate them. They absolutely negatively impact you in sales and in life and in relationships and in all ways career. It really does. You don't have to be in sales. It could be any trade.
Yeah, I always suggest to my coaching clients that, you know, you can change the inner critic.
You can.
You change your self-talk. Like I start every day. I have a routine I do every day, you know, obviously go to the bathroom as I'm walking. I think he's asleep, so it's okay. As I'm walking the dog, if I say it too loud, he'll jump up.
Right. I know.
No, he's still asleep. But as I'm doing that, I'm walking through the neighborhood. I have a smile on my face. Literally, I'm smiling because it releases the happy chemicals. And I have a mantra that I'm saying out loud, you know, really a bunch of, you know, lines, you know, today's going to be a great day. Only wonderful things are going to happen to myself and my family today. It goes on for like 10 minutes. And you know, you can't be telling yourself you're an idiot or you're so stupid or you're so fat or whatever it is while you're replacing it with a better language, a better critic to say. And the other thing I always advise is when you do realize that you're talking to yourself negatively, that's not the time to beat yourself up and saying, "Oh, I'm such an idiot for thinking I'm an idiot." It's the time to say, "Oh, I got it. I just said something to myself, which is not true. I sometimes act like an idiot, but I'm not an idiot. I sometimes do things that are stupid, but I'm not a stupid person." And to be gentle with yourself, not to beat yourself up over your negative language to yourself. And I often think, you know, I'm a brilliant idiot. Like whenever I do my job, if I'm doing a training, I'm telling you, I get done, I'm going, "Oh my God, I'm so good at this." Because I am, I'm great at what I do. But there's also that imposter syndrome that kicks in sometimes. It's like, how does anybody ever listen to me because I'm such a moron? Not that I'm a moron, because I'm not, but no, I do stupid stuff like everybody does. And, you know, I'm a stand-up comedian. I say stupid stuff for a living sometimes, but we're both, aren't we? There's a duality. And
Yeah.
if we allow that negative voice to overpower the positive stuff, that's when we're really suffering. And that makes it hard to be successful in anything, including sales. Yes?
It does, 100%. You brought up so many good points. We are two people, we are both sides, and trying to push it down will do no good. It'll just create chaos. So you have to welcome in that other side of you and that voice and rewire it. So that's what NLP is. It's all about neuroplasticity and the ability that we all will have till the day we die to make new neural pathways and leave others that don't serve us behind. But leading with the stick is never a successful way to motivate anybody. And and a lot of people agree with that, right? But yet they do that to themselves. They flagellate themselves and sabotage themselves, and they don't realize how unproductive that is. So there is always going to be, no matter all the rewiring you do, certain things will pop up, certain situations will happen that will make you question yourself or trigger you back to some insecure feelings. And you have to be able to meet that part of you with love and acceptance and give yourself a hug and validate why you might feel that way, but then to reframe it in a positive way so that it doesn't trip you up. And I think that's the key, not to pretend it's not there, not to let it get out of control, but to rewire that thought process. I just have one other thing to say about that, because the subconscious doesn't process negative. So another way to shift out of this, what you're talking about, the inner critic, besides the powerful questioning, is that when something comes up for you, like, oh my gosh, I'm so whatever the negative story is that you're telling yourself, or I don't want to feel, I'm such an idiot, I'm such a this, or I am doing this.
Loser.
I'm a loser. I'm doing the stupidest things all the time, blah, 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 blah. Raise the awareness. And when you hear yourself say that, realize that you need to reframe that and ask yourself, well, what do you want? I don't want to feel anxious anymore. I don't want to have panic anymore before I go on stage, before I have to close that sale, I have to meet that client, get on that call. Okay, what do you want? Let's tell the subconscious, let's say out loud, let's affirm what we do want. I want to feel calm and grounded. I want to feel confident and knowledgeable, and make those conscious statements so you can make those new neural pathways and welcome in and accept and validate why you might feel the negative, and then change the narrative.
Yeah, the brain listens to positives better than negatives. It's better to say, instead of don't forget this, it's better to say remember this.
Yeah, if you say I don't want to feel anxious anymore, your subconscious only hears you and anxious. It doesn't hear what you want, and it won't hear that you don't want to. You have to reframe it in the positive of what you do want, and affirm that, and that's what it hears, and you can then move on to embody it.
We've only got like 90 seconds left, and I want to give you time to share your contact information, but I want to do this really, I've got 75 more questions. Maybe we have to get together again sometime, but I think I know what this is and what I call using baby eyes, but what is beginner's mind?
Oh, this is a fantastic Zen, mindset. If you want to reset, if you want to sort of, like you said, get out of autopilot, one great, really quick way to do that is to look at things, like you said, baby's mind, with a fresh perspective, with a beginner's mind. Because we're just such a victim of our patterns, of our upbringing, of society, of all the things that we just automatically react. So if you want to find, new joy in things, if you want to not react out of your triggers and insecurities, just look at things fresh. When you have that partner telling you something, don't go to where you always go in your mind. Approach it with curiosity and interest.
Love that. Love that. And I want to share my screen in a moment, but I'm looking at the comments, and my dear friend Ellen Volpe said, thanks for the great convo. Thanks, Emily. And with that, I'm sharing my screen, but this will be converted to a podcast. So for the people who can't see, how do people reach you if they're interested in working with you, if they need your advice, they want to hire you as a speaker? How do they reach you?
Very easily. And I am always happy to give a free 30-minute consult to gain clarity and see if we're a good fit and work together and what kind of shifts I can make for you, help you make. I'm on Instagram at Empowered by Emily. It's empowered with a period by Emily. On my Instagram, I have many links. One of my booking link, which is also right there, the QR code, which is Calendly/Empowered by Emily. So you can book time with me directly. You can message me. You can DM me. I'm also on Facebook as Emily Keltz. I also have a website. It's being revamped. It's www.empoweredbyemily.com. Everything is Empowered by Emily. Look me up, find me, reach out. I'm very accessible, very happy to support. I'm here.
You're on LinkedIn, I know. Do you want to give out a phone number?
Sure. You ready?
Sure.
609-516-2887.
Well, we are out of time. Emily, thank you so much for the coaching and therapy session for me. I hope anybody who listens to this on the replay or was listening today actually got as much as I did out of it. And I will end as I always do. Gang, please remember that sales is a game of making things happen. Get out there and make sales happen. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. It was great. Take care.